Om Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Lokashankaram. So in the last class we were studying till the 75th verse, and we just started the 76th verse, which is a very wonderful verse, which is an oft quoted verse of Vivekachudamani. So that when we are attached to the five sense objects through our five sense organs, we perish. We cannot rise high. And Shankaracharya gives 5 examples, and each example shows how, due to the attachment to just one sense organ, a particular species suffers and perishes. So this attachment to the senses, just attachment to one senses, is sufficient for our annihilation. And what to speak of a human being who is attached to all the 5 senses. So that's the idea which has been highlighted in the 76th verse of Vivekachudamani. What's the verse? Shabdadibhi panchabhi eva pancha panchatvam apuhu swagunena vaddhaha kuranga matanga patanga meena bringa nara panchabhi anchita kim. So the 5 animals which has been named are this Kuranga, Matanga, Patanga, Meena, Bringa. So what are the? Kuranga is the deer. The deer is the Kuranga. Matanga is the elephant. Patanga, of course, is a firefly. Meena is the fish. And Bringa is the bee, the black bee. So these are the 5 creatures which has been spoken of. So they get attached to just one sense, and that becomes the cause of their annihilation. Kuranga means the deer gets attached to shabda, of sound. So the way to capture the deer is to play a wonderful music. Say flute is played. If someone plays flute, the deer gets so entranced by it, enchanted by it, that it becomes oblivious of the surrounding, and it becomes very easy to catch a deer because of its enchantment for the sound. Matanga, the elephant. Sparsha, the touch. The way to capture the male elephant, the bull, that a trained female elephant will go and touch the male elephant and run. And there will be some trench on the path. So the trained female elephant will bypass that, but the male falls into that and gets trapped. So just by touch, that causes the bondage or even sometimes death of the male elephant. So the matanga, by sparsha. Patanga, the moth or the firefly, you will find that they are attracted to the fire. So rupa, that's the rupa, the fire, speaks of the sight, and through the sight that causes the death of this moth. Meena, by this fish, the way to catch fish is just by with a fishing rod, with a bait in the water, we catch the fish. Those who catch the fish, that's the way. The bait, there will be some food. So the rasa, the taste, that becomes the cause of the death of the fish. And bringa is the black bee. So it gets enchanted by the fragrance of the flower. So it goes and sit in the flower to suck the honey. And when it is time for it to fly off, it forgets, and the flower, with the sunset, it closes. The petals will close and the bees get trapped, suffocates and dies. So just one sense organ, by being enchanted with one sense organ, can be the cause of death. And that has been cited by Shankaracharya with the help of these 5 different creatures. And then he's speaking what to speak of human being who is attached to all the 5 senses. So this is the deer, the elephant, the moth, the fish, the black bee. So these 5 have died, being tied to one or the other of the 5 senses. And because of their attachment. And what then is the destiny of man? What is in the store of man who is attached to all these 5? So this Shabda Devi Panchavi Eva Pancha Panchatvamapu Swagunena Vaddha. So we are attached with all the 5. What will be our condition? So to stress the need for detachment, Shankaracharya is, with the help of example, is enunciating through this verse the need for renunciation if we really want to evolve in our spiritual life. So the next verse, the 77th. So after speaking of the cause of annihilation because of attachment to the senses, now he's saying another example he's giving, that the sense organs, the attachment to the senses are more poisonous. They're more virulent even than the venom of a cobra. Because when the cobra strikes someone, then only when one is bitten by a cobra, then only he is going to die. And these sense organs, there is no need to come even in real touch with them. Even by your seeing something, that itself can be the cause of our death. So even from a distance, just by seeing it or by hearing it, we can get trapped by it. So that's the example which Shankaracharya is giving. What he's saying, 77th verse, Doshena Tivraha Vishaya Krishna Sarpa Vishatapi. Krishna Sarpa is the cobra. The Vishaya, all the sense organs, their attachment, their venom is even more poisonous than that of a black cobra. Doshena Tivraha Vishaya Krishna Sarpa Vishatapi Vishang Nihanti Bhoktaram. The one who consumes the poison, the venom, he dies. Drashtarang Chakshusha Apiyayam. But all the sense objects, they are extremely poisonous. They need not have to even swallow. Just by seeing, that one can be the cause of your death. So we find this idea even in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 2nd chapter. What's the idea? In 2 verses, in the 62nd and in the 63rd verse of the 2nd chapter of Bhagavad Gita. The sequence by which we get trapped by the senses have been very nicely described. What's that? How it becomes the cause of the death? Those 2 slokas will explain that, will enumerate that. What it is saying? Dhyayata Vishayan Pungsah Sangasteshu Pajayate Sangat Sanjayate Kama Kamat Krodho Bhijayate Krodhat Bhavati Sammoha Sammohat Smriti Vibhrama Smriti Bhrangshat Buddhinashu Buddhinashat Pranashyati. The sequence. Dhyayata Vishayan Pungsa. Just contemplating on the Vishaya. When we contemplate, after seeing, suppose you are in a shopping mall. You have no, as such, any resolution to buy certain clothing. Most probably you have went to the shopping mall to buy some groceries and you are passing by a shop, passing by some shop of these clothings, and you see a beautiful some coat or maybe something, a jacket, whatever it may be, and suddenly you get stuck there. You just stand there and you start appreciating it. That speaks of dhyayat. Just by seeing, you start as if contemplating on it. dhyayata vishayan pumsa. And from that, it is just lying there. It is not yours. It is just in the shop. In the shop, it is being just there for to be sold. So it is not yours. But now you develop an attachment that this has to be mine. I have to buy it. I have to own it. So this sangha, this attachment grows. Sangasteshu pajayate. First you see, contemplate, and from that the attachment comes. I have to own it. Sangat sanjayate kama. Then the desire comes. Now if someone comes and just say that why to waste your money? Somehow someone obstructs your desire to get it. From that comes what comes? Anger. If you go to the shop and you find that the coat is too costly, and you must probably inside some anger may grow that it's not supposed to be that costly. They are charging more. In various forms the anger may develop. It may be intense, it may be mild, but whenever the kama, the desire is obscure, anger develops. Kamat krodho vijayat. Krodhat bhavati sammoha. From anger comes delusion. What's the delusion? Sammohat smriti vibhrama. That we know the do's and don'ts, and it is in our memory. We have learned through the past experiences in life, from our authority, from the parents, from our teachers. So many things we have learned. What are the do's and don'ts? What are the things which the society is going to censor? It's not going to applaud us for certain things. It is going to censor us. We know all those things. But because of that sammoha, the delusion, my memory fails. There is a smriti vibhrama. And from smriti bhrangshat, buddhi nasha. Now your intellect won't work. Buddhi nashat pranashyati. There are so many times we just have an outburst of anger, rage, and later we repent. I shouldn't have behaved that way. At the spur of the moment, we, out of anger, we behave in such a way. Or from where, why it makes us behave such a way? Because of the sammoha, because of the delusion, that we forget, our memory doesn't work. The do's and don't, we know them. But at that moment, it's not in any way going to help us. Because of the delusion, we have forgotten them. And that causes buddhi nasha. Our intellect doesn't work. We cannot take the correct decision. And from that, we will find sometimes even we are in such a situation, we lose our job. Pranashyati. In our family, there's all disintegration happens. Divorce happens. Family violence happens. All because of this buddhi nasha. Buddhi nasha pranashyati. So we find it started just by seeing. You need not have to even just like the snake's venom to consume it. Just by seeing a thing that can cause our disintegration, destruction. So that's why Shankaracharya is saying that this Vishaya Visha is even the venom of the sense objects, is even more virulent than the venom of a poisonous snake. Because the poisonous snake, it has to bite you. You have to swallow the poison. But here just by seeing, you get inflicted by the poison. So doshena tivra vishaya krishna sarpa vishatapi visham nihanti bhoktaram drashtaram chakshusha apiyayam. So now one who is free from this terrible sensory entanglement alone is fit to attain liberation. So this will be stated just after stating that the attachment to the senses can be the cause of our destruction. After that, this control over the senses, that can even lead to the attainment of liberation. That is being stated in the next verse, the 78th. What it is saying? Vishaya asha mahapashat yah vimukta sudustyajat sa eva kalpate muktai Nanya Shat Shastra Vedyapi. So one who is free from this terrible snare of the hankering of the sense objects, Vishaya Asha Mahapasha. The bondage of the senses is something extreme. It's a great bondage, Mahapasha. Vishaya Asha. There's Asha. There's hankering from the Vishaya. Is a great bondage, Mahapasha. Yah Vimukta. The one who can free himself from that. Sudus, which is so difficult to get rid of. Sudus Tyajat. It is not easy. But at the same time, it is not easy. But it is not impossible. It is difficult. But difficult doesn't mean it is impossible. So it is Sudus Tyajat. It is very difficult to get rid of it. But it is possible. And one who can do it is alone fit for liberation. Sa eva kalpate muktai. He alone is fit for liberation, for mukti. And none else, na anya. Not even the one who is well versed in all the 6 philosophies, 6 shastras, Shat Shastra Vedyapi. So you may be an expert in all, you may be an erudite scholar of all the 6 philosophies. But unless you have that renunciation, that detachment, know it for certain, there cannot be any liberation. That reminds a very nice allegory which Sri Ramakrishna used to enunciate. We find it in the Gospel. That way, a erudite scholar was sitting in a boat, he was crossing the river, and he asked the boatman who was rowing the boat that, do you know the Sankhya philosophy? Do you know? And he was saying, no, I don't know all this philosophy. Do you know Vedanta? No. Do you know the Purva Mimangsha, Uttara Mimangsha? No, I don't know anything of this. Then this Pandit was saying, this erudite scholar was again and again, the moment he was saying, no, I don't know, for each and every time he was saying, I don't know, he was saying, your life is in vain. For what your life is, it's in vain that you know nothing of the scriptures. How will you cross the ocean of samsara without knowing the scriptures? And suddenly there was a huge storm and the river became extremely turbulent. The boat was in topsy-turvy. It was about to be capsized. And now the boatman asked, Sir, do you know swimming? The scholar said, no, I don't know swimming. And then he told them, what to speak of Bhavasangsara, what to speak of the ocean of life. You cannot even cross the ocean or this river. You cannot even cross this river. This will be the cause. The moment the boat capsizes, that will be the cause of your death. So this is the idea. What's the idea? That this Vishaya Asha is Mahapasha. It's like that turbulent river. Do we know that scriptures, knowing the scriptures? It's not that we did not know the scriptures. That's okay. But do we know to swim? How to swim across these waves of passions, waves of attachment, the desires? If we have the capacity to swim across them, then only there is a way out. We can reach the other shore. Otherwise, we are going to drown in this ocean of samsara. So that's the thing which Sri Ramakrishna also will find. Sri Ramakrishna gives so many examples. He says the vultures, that what's the Pandits like, what the erudite scholars like? They're like the vultures. He's saying the vultures soar very high indeed, but their gaze is only on the charnel pit. Some rotten animal which has died in the charnel pit, from high up in the sky. Their eyes are very, very powerful. From there, they can see that where that rotten flesh is there. That's what this vulture feeds on. So it is soaring very high, but its attention is on the rotten flesh in the charnel pit. So he's saying that all the so-called erudite scholars who do not have renunciation are like those vultures. And as per their intellect is concerned, they are soaring very high. They will speak wonderful things. but their attention is always on the sense objects. That's the charnel pit. It's in the rotten flesh. So that's the thing. So unless this education becomes our reflex, we can alter our reflex. At present, it is the sense objects which draws our senses towards it. If we can change the reflex through internalization of the values which has been spoken of in the scriptures, if we can develop that detachment, then we can even just alter our reflexes, change our reflexes. Instead of the senses being drawn out towards, dragged out by the senses, it will be just opposite. It will be withdrawn, as has been said in the Bhagavad Gita, that in the 58th sloka of the second chapter, Yada sangharate chayam kurmonganiva sarvashah indriyanindriyarthebhya tasya pragya pratishtita. So just like a tortoise, when the tortoise is in danger, so what its limbs will immediately be withdrawn into the shell. So the one who is self-composed, who is always attuned to his own self, who is absorbed in his self, who delights in his self, who is Atma Rama. So he is just, his reflex has just changed. He has become like just the way a tortoise withdraws its limb whenever it sees the danger. So for a man of a renunciation, his senses, instead of getting drawn by the sense objects, they know very well that they are the cause of my disintegration, my death. And just by seeing it, immediately it withdraws itself. Its reflex has changed. That's why Swami Vivekananda used to define education as, it is not just the accumulation of information. It's not just to, what you say that we learn just the information. It is not the accumulation of informations. It is a nervous association of ideas. That whatever that we think as ideal, that has been internalized. It's not just something which is a matter of my academic interest. It has been internalized, and in such a way it has been internalized that it has changed my reflexes. So Swami Vivekananda used to say that education is the nervous association of ideas. So this is the definition he saw as an example in the life of Ramakrishna. That his renunciation was so intense. When, as he has renounced wealth, he won't touch money. So the coins are metals, he won't touch. So any metal, as they are the thing with which the coins are made, the metals were the thing which used to repel him. If any metal he is to touch, this idea has become so much internalized. Even by mistake, even unknowingly, if he touches metal, he will feel tremendous pain. His hand will be recoiled. All the limbs will be recoiled back, and he feels terrible pain, as if some scorpion has stung him. Swami Vivekananda never believed when he heard that Sri Ramakrishna is saying that touching metal I feel terrible pain. To test Sri Ramakrishna, he kept a coin below the mattress of his bed. And when Sri Ramakrishna was not in the room, when he returned, he sat on the mattress. Those mattresses, of course, are very thin. Sri Ramakrishna felt something is below the mattress, and it is something metal. Just by that touch, he jumped up from his bed and shouted in pain and called his nephew to find if something was there below the mattress, and the coin was found. Ramakrishna knew very well that it is Naren, the future Vivekananda, to taste him, has kept the coin. He was happy that that he told that you have to judge a sadhu before accepting him, and that's what he was doing. And from that, Ramakrishna Swami Vivekananda was amazed to see that how and this idea can become a nervous association, can totally alter your reflex. It can just become your reflex. And that's the real renunciation. Just mere academic knowledge is of no avail unless we have internalized those values. So that's the idea which is being spoken of in this sloka. The Vishaya Asha Mahapashat Yah Vimukta. It is a Mahapasha. It's a terrible snare. It's a terrible bondage, Mahapasha. But one who can get rid of it, which is very difficult. So Dushkara, that is very difficult, but not impossible. If one can, by his renunciation, can get rid of it, he alone is fit for liberation, not the one who is well versed in the 6 scriptures, 6 shastras. Na anya shat shastra vedyapi. So, after that, Shankaracharya is saying that what happens when we do not have intense dispassion? When we do not have intense dispassion, spiritual life can be very, very dangerous. Apata Vairagya can be dangerous. It can be the cause of our disintegration, our great fall. That's being indicated in the next verse. What he's saying? Apata Vairagya vata mumukshun. Apata Vairagya. Apparent renunciation of a spiritual seeker, mumukshun. Bhavabdi parang pratiyatum udhyatam. If a spiritual seeker tries to cross the ocean of this phenomenal existence, bhavabdi parang, bhava abdi, ocean of phenomenal existence, ocean of samsara, bhava abdi, abdi is the water, bhava is this phenomenal existence. The ocean of this phenomenal existence, parang, the shore. So to reach the shore of this phenomenal existence, the one who aspires for that, udyatan, is aspiring, pratyatum yudyatan, with apparent vairagya. It is just like catching hold of a crocodile and trying to cross the river. Ashagraha majyate antarale. So Shankaracharya is very poetic. The way he is trying to draw in our mind the need for intense dispassion. In a what poetic way he is saying that it is just like catching hold of a crocodile. Ashagraha majyate antarale. Just the way if you thinking to cross the river, you get hold of a crocodile. What will it do? Instead of it crossing the river, it will take you deep into the waters and drown you. So that is majyate, ashagraha. This crocodile, the desire, this crocodile whose name is desire. So this ashagraha will take you, this crocodile named desire, named crocodile, this will take you deep into the waters, antarala, deep, and drown you. Nigriha kanthe vinivartya vegat. By getting hold of your throat, by getting hold of your shoulders, it will take you deep into the water in terrible speed and drown you. The shark of hankering catches by the throat. So, nigriha kanthe vinivartya vegat. Those seekers after liberation, who has only got apparent dispassion, apata vairagya vata mumukshun, and are trying to cross the ocean of samsara, and violently snatching them away, drowns them halfway. So this is something in spiritual life we all have to be aware of. Now, renunciation, that renunciation results from conscience. We all have that viveka, that conscience. It always works in us. But that conscience can be of 2 types. That all of us have this conscience. That inner voice. How it develops? It develops from the authority. As a small child, my parents, my teachers, the society, they were always dictating me the do's and don'ts. And that got internalized. And that authority is the basis of my conscience. The authority which has got internalized, that's the authoritarian conscience. If our renunciation is based on that authoritarian conscience, what the society will say, what my other people will say, and that's why I have developed some dispassion. That dispassion is apata vairagya. It is not going to help us. Why? We will find that when the authority is not there, the same person who is so well behaved, when no one is there to really judge him, look him, witness him, he can be a total different person. He can be a totally different person. So here it speaks of from where that apata vairagya comes. As Swami Vivekananda used to say, a very interesting thing, that so much energy we spend in showing others that I am a nice person. So much energy we spend. If we would have used the same amount of energy to really transform ourselves, we would have been a totally different person. So showing others, that's based on that authority. But there is another conscience that is spiritually oriented, that I sincerely believe that it is my attachment which is the cause of my transmigration. Life after life, I am going through this cycle of jara, vyadhi, mrityu. There will be this decay, disease, death. However I may aspire after life, the nature is going to give me all the things at certain point of time, will snatch away everything at certain point of time. I will be suffering intensely. And it's going on, life after life. We are just repeating the same thing. If we have Shraddha in the words of the scriptures and really believe that, and then develops that spiritually oriented conscience. It's not on the authority. I know I am the self. Somehow because of my delusion, I have got caught, ensnared in this process of birth and death, and from that which results in unending suffering, I have to come out of it. If the conscience is based on that, that will give us the real vairagya. That is not apata vairagya. So our conscience should be spiritually oriented, not it should be based on the authority. It is not. If it is based on authority, for most of us it happens that it is just markat vairagya. Sri Ramakrishna says it is markat. What is markat? The monkey sometimes seems to be meditating, where he is sitting quietly. Sri Ramakrishna used to say actually what? It is contemplating that in whose backyard the banana, the plantains has got ripened, and he has to go and get all those bananas. He has to just seize all those bananas. He is contemplating. He is contemplating on the objects of his desires. It appears that for the time being he is as if very calm. So most of the time our meditation, we will find, is just like that markat. From where that term markat vairagya came, Sri Ramakrishna visited the Brahmo Samaj. And there, as the bell rings, all will have to close their eyes and sit for meditation. And after 5 or 10 minutes, another bell will ring and they open their eyes, they will recite some prayer. So there's a regimentation. There's 10 minutes meditation, 10 minutes prayer. Seeing that, Sri Ramakrishna was really, he felt that it's really a funny thing. How can just someone meditate for 5 minutes or 10 minutes? And so he was just observing minutely those people when they were sitting with their closed eyes. Seeing them, after that he is speaking of this markata vairagya, this meditation, monkey meditation. He was just explaining that, that seeing you with your closed eyes, I was just what it made me feel. Just made me feel like those monkeys who sometimes sit quietly, just with their eyes closed as if they are meditating, but actually they are contemplating. So that's the condition of our mind. Why? Because our renunciation is not based on that faith that this process of transmigration is the cause of suffering, and we have to go beyond it. So as long as this our vairagya is a markat, then what happens? Our condition is just like the fox of the Aesop's fable. In the Aesop's fable, we all know that story, that a fox accidentally fell on the tub of a blue dye. There was some blue dye on the tub of that, it fell, and naturally its color changed. It became this, it had a blue tint. And seeing this blue tint fox, this blue fox, all thought it's a new animal. And they developed a sense of awe, seeing that wonderful color. And they all decided, let us declare him to be the king of the forest. So this new animal, let him be the... And now the fox made a resolution that I have to be very quiet, I have to be silent. If I howl, and listening me howl, the fox that's the tendency. If one fox howls, the other will all howl. All the fox will howl. The entire forest will be echoing with the howl of the fox. So this fox knew that if I once howl, I will be caught. So it was silent for 1 or 2 days. But then it couldn't resist because it's its nature to howl. On the 3rd day it howled and all the fox howled and he was caught. And that what happens with most of us. What to speak of spiritual life? Even in our job, in our work, that's the same thing. That as a student, we were not at all bothered of the soft skills. That when we are in a group discussion, I have to give others' opinions value, I have to listen. I shouldn't be bossing over others. I shouldn't develop quarrel with others. I should try to work as a team. All those things, there is no certificate for it. That's why they are called soft skills. You have to develop in the process of your education as a character. You have to develop. But most of us are not bothered about that. We are more bothered about the degrees. That's the hard skills. What are the hard skills? Which can be produced in your certificate. There's a hard paper on that. These are the grades you have got. So those are the hard skills with which we go to join some work. We are appointed. And then because of the lack of soft skills, we will be thrown out. So there is in India, this is a very common saying that you will be hired for your hard skills but will be fired for your lack of soft skills. You will be hired for your... And you'll find that after joining some work, some job, to keep the job becomes a big challenge. You will be fired because most of the time we find that we lack in soft skills. And that's the thing, that there's a research of the Harvard University. They say that 80% of our resource is wasted in just getting something, the hard skills, which actually decides only 20% of our future. 80% of our future is decided by the soft skills. That how you really deal with others, how you have the power to keep yourself within control. So that's the thing which decides your future. That's 80%. But we spend all our resource for the 20%. So here that's the idea that apata vairagya is this lack of soft skills. With this, why there's lack of, they all think, the student think, all those things when I join, then I will take care of it. Now as a student, I need not bother about all those things. My degrees matter. There's all those behavioral things, character things. After joining, I will change myself. But there are your sanskaras. We have to all develop it from the day one. We cannot just change our nature in a day. And that's why we find that because of the lack of soft skills, what is happening? There's asha graha. There's all our petty desires are like the crocodile. We get hold of them, thinking that with the help of them we will cross the ocean of life. And instead, what happens? Instead of crossing us, instead of taking us across, it takes us deep within to drown us. So that's the idea which has been spoken of here. Apata vairagyavata mumukshum bhavabdhi parang pratiyatu mudyatan asha graha majyate antarale nigriha kante vinivartya vegat. Just to a seeker with his apparent renunciation, trying to cross the ocean of life is just like getting hold of a crocodile and wishing to cross the river. You can never. They will drown halfway. The crocodile will take you in and drown you halfway. And sometimes we never realize that these desires, how it gradually entangles us. That's all our desires creeps in slowly. It doesn't even allow us to realize that we are gradually slipping down. That the path to deterioration is such a gradual slope. Sometimes we don't. Only after a long time we realize, oh, I have fallen. Sri Ramakrishna once went to Fort William. Sri Ramakrishna's examples are wonderful. In the Gospel, he says, in Calcutta, the Fort William, there's a fort, the British fort in those days, where they used to keep all their weapons and these arms, ammunitions. There's a fort there. So that fort, even at present it's there, from the main road, when you're going down, you're going to the fort, it appears as if you are just walking down the street, a plain street, but actually it's a very gradual slope. Only when you go to the fort and you look just towards the street, you find the street is quite up. It's about 2-story building high. You have came down so much, but you never realized. So Sri Ramakrishna in his gospel is saying that our path to deterioration is kolumbara, is very gradual slope. It doesn't even allow us to realize. Slowly we start falling. There's a nice story that it's an Arabian story. That the story goes like this: that in the desert, in the daytime it is so hot, and the night is extremely cold because of the sand. The sand doesn't retain the heat. At night, all the heat is dissipated, and it's just the opposite weather. At night, it can be extremely cold. So, a man with his tent just has lit some fire, and he was just warming himself inside the tent at night, and the camel was outside. And suddenly the camel somehow managed to put its head inside the tent, and he requested the master, "It's so cold outside, can I just keep my head inside?" The master told, "It's okay." And then gradually the camel started coming more and more inside. The master never noticed. At last, the entire camel came inside and kicked the master out. So that's how all our desires slowly creeps in the form of luxury. There are so many nice stories. There's Kopin Kavaste, that is a monk. He was a quite renunciate. Now, he had only this 2 pairs of loincloths. And the rats will come, and that when one every day he will wear, the other he will just wash and keep it in the liners to dry. And it was infested. That place was infested with the rats. They will come and just tear off that loincloths. So now this monk, after all, has to beg. So every now and then he has to beg for this. And so we find that just to get rid of the rat, the villagers suggested him, "Why not you keep a cat?" Now he kept a cat on the suggestion of being suggested by the villagers. First he kept a cat with him as a pet. Now to feed the cat he needed milk. So how to get the milk? So again the villagers suggested, "Why not have a cow?" So he had a cow, just for the sake of that loincloth. Just see he had a cat and then the cow. And now he found that to feed the cow, he needs the fodder. So the villagers donated him some land. Now who will cultivate the land? Who will milch the cow? So some worker was there. Now the work increased so much. At last the villagers suggested that it's not possible for you to manage all the things alone. Why not have a wife? So at last, the renunciate monk at last had a wife, and now he was a family person. All happened just because of the loincloth. So what's the main message from the story? That it creeps little by little. So that's the thing which has been indicated in this sloka, that Vishaya Asha Apata Vairagyavat Mumukshun Bhavabdhiparam Pratiyatum Udyatan. It's just like the crocodile. Apparently, seeing the crocodile swimming, you feel, oh, with the help of this I will cross. But that's the thing which is going to take you down. So these small desires which you think is not going to affect me. Oh, I am so strong enough. I can just simply, have the willpower to be detached from them. Know it for certain. It's not going to be so. If somehow even as to a little amount, if you get attached to them, you just enjoy them, know it for certain, it's going to drag you and destroy you, then take you away from the spiritual path. So, that's the thing has been spoken of in the 79th verse. And in the 18th verse, what is saying? So, just the opposite. He who has killed the shark, known as sense object, with the sword of intense dispassion, crosses the ocean of samsara, free from obstacles. Vishaya Akhya Graha. This Vishaya Akhya, the crocodile named the sense objects. Vishaya Akhya. Akhya means to name something. This Graha, this crocodile, this Vishaya is the crocodile. Vishaya Akhya Graha. This sense objects, the crocodile which has which is as good as the sense objects. Yena Suvirakti Asinahata. One who has killed that crocodile, named the sense objects, with the help of Asi. Asi means the sword of dispassion. Suvirakti. And that dispassion is intense. Suvirakti. Virakti itself means dispassion. Suvirakti means intense. It is not apata vairagya. It is suvirakti. Previous verse was speaking of apata vairagya, apparent dispassion. And here it is saying suvirakti, intense dispassion. With that, one who has killed, sa gacchati bhavam bodhe. He alone can cross this ocean of samsara. Bhava, this bhavam bodhi. Ambadhi is the ocean, bhava is this samsara, this world, this ocean of this samsara, this worldly ocean. Sagacchati bhavabdha param, he crosses that. Pratyuha varjita, free from all the obstacles. Free from all the obstacles, he crosses. So dispassion is just like the sword by which you can kill the crocodile of desires, the named desires. Sri Ramakrishna also gives a very nice example that when you are crossing the river, there is a fear of crocodile, and there is a belief, maybe it is a folklore, maybe it is true, that if you smear yourself with the turmeric, if you smear yourself with turmeric, then the crocodile somehow develops an aversion for you. It doesn't like that the smell of turmeric, doesn't like, it is repelled by that. So you can save yourself if you are smeared with turmeric. So Sri Ramakrishna says that the renunciation is like that turmeric. You have to smear yourself with that if you have to get rid of the shark of desires, named desires. So he has killed the shark, known as the sense object, with the sword of intense dispassion. Or you can, in the words of Ramakrishna, you have smeared yourself with the dispassion. Then alone you can get rid of this crocodile and can cross the ocean. So dispassion, and now the question is that how to have that dispassion? Apata vairagya. Now the answer is the dispassion can be strengthened. Just the way we strengthen our muscles, the same way we can strengthen our willpower. How the muscles are strengthened? We think that working against the weight strengthens our muscle, builds our muscle, but it is just the opposite. Working against the weight destroys it, it damages the muscle. When you are working against the strength, After some time, the muscle cell starts rupturing. It cannot take that much of stress. Then how the muscle is built? Now when these muscle cells rupture, you'll find whenever you start a new exercise, you do get cramps. That cramps speak of the rupturing of the muscle cells. Now when the muscle cells starts regrowing, the damaged cell starts regrowing. Now the cells have their own brain. They have their brain by which enables them to get the feedback. So what's the feedback? That this portion of the body, these muscle cells, are now used more. Previously it was not used, now it is used more. So when we regrow, if we grow just the exact number of cells which was there previously, we cannot cope up with the stress with which this muscle is going through now. So we have to grow more cells. So from the feedback actually that the weight damages the cell, but the feedback which comes from that, which helps in the growth of the muscle. The willpower also grows the same way. That we give that example, that how to, that apata vairagya be converted into suvirakti. The apata vairagya which has been spoken of in the previous verse, that can be converted into suvirakti. How? By strong resolution. That resolution is required at the beginning. But after that, we need not have to resolve. Renunciation becomes sufficiently strong to make the renunciation spontaneous. That example we gave so many times in some other context of fasting. When you're fasting, what happens? That for the first time when you're fasting, from morning you have planned that for the Shivaratri, throughout the night I will fast. Only the next day morning I'm going to have my food. Now by lunchtime, in the afternoon itself, you feel terribly hungry. And now as you have taken the resolution of fasting, you simply, that will be resisting that hunger. You will be resisting and continue with your fasting. A wonderful thing happens. You will find that by late evening, the pangs of hunger is gone. And you have started feeling light. As you have not taken food throughout the day, your body is very light, refreshed, and the pangs of hunger is gone. Now you can continue for the night with your contemplation, with your worship, with a very free mind. That's why actually the fasting is done. What has happened actually? So as I have the habit of taking food at particular time, the body has developed a biological clock. So this is the time you have to take the food. So as per that biological clock, if you are not taking the food, then the biological alarm system sets in the form of all these pangs. The pangs of this your hunger, which you are getting, the pangs you are getting. This is actually the biological alarm system. Now the alarm system will be there for some time, then it falls off. If you simply, if you are just, you don't bother about them. If you don't bother about it, if you continue with your fasting, after some time, you will find that the alarm system is falling off. And then you can continue. So that way you can delay the gratification. It's not that you can fast forever. Again the pangs will come, but it will give you a certain span of time where you find your body is light, there is no need for taking food, and your mind can easily concentrate. So that's what speaks of, that if you have the willpower, the body has that feedback mechanism. Just the way you build your muscles, here also that feedback mechanism is there. That yes, it is not going to yield to the pangs of hunger. So the alarm system stops, and then you can continue. Now, there is no need for your willpower to stop you from taking food. It has become spontaneous. Sri Ramakrishna used to give a wonderful example. Suppose there is a river with a curve. There is a curve. From the uphill, some stream, some falls is there. That falls is divided into two paths. So it looks like a one river, but actually we will find that when I'm in the one leg of this so-called river and I'm trying to row, I have to row upstream till I reach the curve. When I reach the curve, now I will be having the favorable flow. So Sri Ramakrishna is saying that at the beginning of our spiritual life, to develop that intense renunciation, you have to row as if you're row upstream. So you, with all your energy, strength, you are going. And once you reach the curve, now you get the favorable flow. Now you can relax. The boat just is carried away by the stream itself. To keep the direction, you just hold the row in a particular way to keep the direction, but you don't have to stress yourself out anymore. So what's the idea? The same thing, that this renunciation can be intensified. It's not that we have to struggle with them throughout. At certain point, that renunciation, because of our feedback mechanism, will become spontaneous. And then you will find that that has become something favorable for your spiritual journey. And that's the thing is being indicated here. That pratyuha varjita, what it means, free from obstacles. At the beginning, you with your jnana asi, with the knowledge of dispassion, you have to exert yourself. You have to, as if, kill that ashagraha, the crocodile of desires. You have to kill it. And then your virakti will become spontaneous. There is no more obstacles, pratyuha varjita. You can easily now cross across this bhava abdhi, this ocean of samsara. So that's the idea which Shankaracharya is indicating in the 80th verse. In the 81st verse, what's the idea? Vishama margai gacchata anachcha buddhehe pratipadam abhiyatah mrityuh api esha vidhi hitah srijan guru uktya gacchata swasya yukta prabhavati phala siddhi satyam iti eva vidhi. So know that death quickly overtakes the stupid man who walks along the dreadful way of sense pleasure. Vishama, Vishaya Margai Gacchata, Anachcha Buddhi, whose mind is not pure, who thinks that even this, all the sense objects, even if I see, they are not going to taint me. Let me just see a little and then I will detach myself. Know it for certain, for such a person. But this death quickly overtakes. Pratipadam abhiyata mrityuhu api esha vidhi. And just the opposite. And whereas one who walks in accordance with the instructions, the Guru has warned you that be aware of this, the sensate pleasures, the sense objects. Never in any way even mingle with them to the slightest. Wherever you see, be away from it. They alone. Hita, and from where he has heard? From his Guru. Hita sujana guru uktya gacchata swasya yuktya prabhavati phala siddhi. For him alone they can reach the goal, phala siddhi. Satyam iti vidhi. They can ultimately know the ultimate truth. It reminds me of a nice incident in the life of Swami Adbhutananda, Latu Maharaj. Latu Maharaj was illiterate. He came just to serve Sri Ramakrishna. He was serving someone else, Rambabu, one of the devotees of Ramakrishna. But seeing Ramakrishna, he was so much drawn to him. He wanted to serve him, and that's how he came to Dakshineshwar, was staying with him. As such, he was from the very interior village of Bihar, had no formal education. Now, as he was from a family who are the working class, now in the working class, as they have to work throughout the day, and it's because of the tremendous toil they have to go through, they naturally develop the tendency to have some liquor. After their work, they will drink. So that is almost like a family tradition. Now Sri Ramakrishna knew this Latu. He is from that family. He is a very pure boy. He have never drank, and he never have a tendency also, but he's from that type of background. Now when he used to come to Sri Ramakrishna from Rambabu's house, Ramakrishna asked him, "What's the road you come through?" And he told, "Such and such a road I come through." And Sri Ramakrishna knew there is a liquor shop there. And Sri Ramakrishna, knowing that there's a liquor shop on that road, his sanskar, because of that family background, he may develop a tendency to resort to this drinking. So Ramakrishna told, never come to that street, never pass through that street. Now this is Sujana Guru Uktya. This to just indicate that what it means, just to follow the instructions of the Guru just in ditto. This Latu Maharaj had so much faith in Ramakrishna in his words. He is to obey them just literally. Now to avoid that road, he walked another 3 kilometers extra, just the other bypass, every day. That speaks of the Guru Bhakti. That's Sri Ramakrishna knew that that's the alcohol shop itself may drag him. That's Vishaya is so powerful. Sri Ramakrishna used to say a very nice thing, that however careful you may be, if you are staying in a room whose walls are painted with the soot, the soots, you know that when you having some flame enclosed in some glass case, there is a lamp with a glass case, and then you will find the glass case will develop some black coating. That's the soot. So with that soot, if you paint the wall of a room, however careful you may be, you are bound to get tainted. However careful you may be, because you're staying in a room whose walls are painted with that soot. So however careful. So that's what means. It is meant by that Vishaya. Even you may think that it is some innocent pleasure. Oh, my little the dwelling in it is not going to harm me. Know it for certain. It will gradually drag you, because the subconscious mind is already filled with all those tendencies. A little nourishment from outside will make it more strong, and it is impossible to get rid of it. So that's why the Guru is always there to save us by saying that all the desires are lurking behind. Don't get attached. So that's why that real freedom, Swami Ramakrishna used to say, is freedom from the senses, not freedom of the senses. Sometimes we think freedom means freedom of the senses, freedom from the senses. Once we can develop that speaks of the real freedom. So this is this verse from which we will again continue this time again for the class to be concluded. So again we will start from the 81st verse. We will discuss on it, and we will continue to the succeeding verse till 123rd verse of Vivekachudamani. Shankaracharya will be highlighting the need to develop this intense dispassion. That's why the name of this book is Vivekachudamani, the crest jewel of discrimination. That how to develop discrimination, how to develop that awareness by constantly contemplating on the various aspects of this dispassion, the pros and cons of it. What are the advantages of leading this life? What are the disadvantages of it? So to have this, he will be going through various examples. So we will go through them gradually as we advance to the study of this Vivekachudamani. With this, we conclude our discussion today. Thank you all. Namaskar.